This video is about jackpotting and behavior. And what I mean by that is that when a horse gets something, like say you're trying to teach it something and it does something totally unexpected, not what you thought it was going to do, or you're trying to teach it something that you think it'll never get, but suddenly it gets it, and you think in your mind, oh my God, I'm never going to get him to do that again. Well, one way that I make it memorable in the horse's mind, and I get him thinking that he wants to try and do it again, is jackpotting. And what I do is, instead of just giving him 2 or 3 hay stretch pellets in my hand once, I go back and I get 2 or 3 hay stretch pellets and I give it to him again and again and again. I'll do it 3 to 7 times, back and forth. And it's not so much how much you have in your hand that the horse is paying attention to. What the horse is paying attention to is how many times you're going back. He's like, wow, she's just shoveling it at me. And in that way, he wants to recreate that. He wants you to go back and forth 7 times to your pocket and give him 3 hay stretch pellets rather than have to do one trick and only get 1 trip from your pocket with the pellet. Get it. Get it. Oh, popped him in the face. Get it. Good boy! Yay! It was off the nose, but you got it. Off the nose. Off the nose. Off the nose. So he's like, wow. Wow. There's a variation of this that I use also. If it happens to be a behavior that I've caught that I think if I ask him to repeat it right away, he might get confused and we might lose the behavior. And I'd rather him have a little bit of time to think about it. So in that case, instead of giving him 2 or 3 hay stretcher pellets several times, I might say to him, oh, good job, let's go. And I bring him over to his bin and I'll take all the hay stretcher pellets that I have in my pouch and just dump them right in the bin and let him sit there and eat them and walk away. In that way, he can have time to process what happened and not have been asked to do something after that behavior. So that it can still be clear in his mind that the behavior led to him being praised, led to him getting all of the hay stretch pellets. And I didn't confuse him by asking him to repeat it right away. And this way, when I come out the next day or I come out later, he's had time to process this into the memory in his mind. And the amount of hay stretch pellets I gave him is no big deal because it's the amount that's in his daily diet. Whether I give him to him 1 handful at a time, 2 or 3 at a time, or I put them all in the bucket, it's the same. Now, if you use jackpotting, what you would do, like I did in this case with him, is the first time I went back and forth to his mouth with the food, I don't know how many times. It may have been 6, 7 times, I'm not really sure. But then the next time he did it and he caught it, I only did it 4 or 5 times. Still kept up the enthusiasm. But then the third time that he did it, I saw he was going to consistently be able to do it. I downed it to like 2 times and then just weaned it off the regular way that you'd normally wean it off. Now, if you jackpotted it the first time and it took him a long time before he actually did it a second time, you'd jackpot him the full amount the second time too before you'd start weaning him off. You don't want to overuse this. You only want to use this in the rare occasion that you get something unusual that you want to catch in that moment and you want him to remember it and you want him to try and do it again. If you overuse it, it loses its effect. I'm showing you this trick to show you that how I actually use jackpotting, but I thought that I probably should actually show you how to do the trick. He first knew how to do the gimme cue or the get me cue, which is a fetch cue. He knew how to already pick things up off the ground, so I had to elaborate on that and get him to understand that you can not only pick things up off the ground, but you can pick them out of the air. So it was an extension of a trick that he already knew. So if you were going to try and teach this trick, you should probably teach fetch first. In the process of teaching things to horses, pay close attention to what's going on. Like when I tossed it to him in front of him or on his right side, I got very little or no reaction whatsoever out of him. But when I tossed it to the left side, I got a reaction. Then I noticed if it actually touched him on the left side, I got more of a reaction. So I started to hone in on what was getting a reaction from him instead of just randomly all over the place. And that's what you got to do when you're teaching a horse tricks. Pay attention to what's working and build on that. Because once you get him to do it, say in this case, on the left side, and when it touches his nose, you can get him to then expand on that and do it when it doesn't first touch his nose, and then you can get him to do it in front of him and then on the right side. But when you're actually teaching the trick, concentrate on what's getting you the reaction that you want. I want to make a comment about clickers. You'll very seldom ever see me actually use a clicker. One of the times that I will use a clicker is when I'm trying to catch a behavior that is natural to a horse, but it's mixed in with other behaviors. Say, for example, I'm flinging my arms around and I turn my head and I'm doing all these other things, but it was at the point where I put my head up like that you actually wanted that behavior. Out of all those other behaviors, that was the behavior that you wanted. See that if I'm doing all these behaviors and then I do that and this, if you said good boy or that's it, I could have done 3 different things before you said that. But if you click that clicker, it's in an instant. You can click that clicker in the instant that I put my head up, and I would know, if I was trained what a clicker was all about, that that was the behavior that you wanted. It wasn't all this other stuff that I was doing. So in that way, a clicker is very, very important if you're doing trick training and you're trying to catch a behavior that's natural to a horse. I want to emphasize that you shouldn't overuse jackpotting. Jackpotting is something that I very seldom ever use, and because I don't use it very often, it's effective when I do use it. If you use it too much, it'll lose its value.